Welcome to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprofit.com. And now your hosts, Craig and Jeff.
Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey, and today we're continuing our Week 10 recap of the NFL. We got 6 more games to get to here. So we're going to start us off with Dolphins Chargers is going to be the first one we talk about here. Dolphins win 29-21. Dolphins go to 6-3, which is pretty impressive there. And Tua's 3-0 actually as a quarterback so far. And the Chargers are 2-7, which just doesn't feel right because Justin Herbert played pretty well. But hey, it's just they've lost a lot of close ones. But Dolphins, so talk about them first. Tua, 15-25. He doesn't have to do a lot through the air, but he did throw 2 touchdowns, which, solid there for him. He's getting wins, so that's really all that matters. So decent game, but he's really not you really don't want to have to use Tua in fantasy. So he's not really a fantasy option at this point. So for the rushing attack, no Jordan Howard, no Matt Breida, no Myles Gaskin. Now they're down to Salvin Ahmed, which we all saw this coming, right? Salvin Ahmed was just going to do this. And he gets 21 carries for 85 yards and a touchdown. And you know what? You have to consider him probably one of the top waiver wire pickups for next week if he's going to get this opportunity. Because honestly, I feel like Myles Gaskin was – I don't think Myles Gaskin was that great of a running back, but he was getting all the opportunity. And if Matt Breida isn't back next week, Salvin Ahmed is going to get 20 carries again. He doesn't have to do much. He can average 3 yards a carry, and if he gets a touchdown, it's fine. So, with how the waiver wire is looking, I think Salvin Ahmed should probably be your top pickup, one of the top pickups next week.
Yeah,
that is.
Yeah, I know it's very strange to say, but it's true. And hey, look, they have a good defense. They have a rookie QB, and somehow they're in the playoff hunt. So that they're going to try to bank on what their strengths are. And right now they run the ball solidly, and then they, play defense very, very well, and they try to avoid turnovers. That really is it's going to have to rely on the rushing game. So whoever is healthy is going to get a considerable amount of carries. And once again, I don't care how good you are. If you're going to get 20 carries, I'll play you.
So with Tua, they're 3-0, like we said, but I think he has really, really hurt their fantasy receiving prospects. So it's killed that. Devontae Parker is just it's not worthwhile to play Devontae Parker right now. I feel like even though last week he got 6 for 64, that's about the best it's going to be. But you get the other 2 games where he had 1 catch for 3 yards. It was a touchdown, I'll say that, but still 1 for 3 and then 2 for 31. You have to start really. You're playing Devontae Parker is a risk, I would say right now. It's a risk. You're just hoping to get maybe a touchdown out of it. I will say the matchups coming up are not bad. Denver, Jets, Bengals, it's not bad. But I don't feel comfortable starting Devontae Parker. I don't feel comfortable starting Mike Gesicki. I just don't feel comfortable with the passing game. I feel fine with the running game. And I think those teams they're playing are bad enough where they can just run on them. So I might just stay away from that aspect of it right now. But how about the Chargers? Justin Herbert, not his greatest effort, but it still ends up being 2 touchdowns through the air and a touchdown rushing. So it's good. Only 187 yards passing, but hey, this guy's getting it done for fantasy every time.
Yep.
But we know what he is, but Caitlyn Bellage, what the heck? Again, this is another situation. Not a good running back. He just isn't. He's not a good running back. But he got 18 carries. He only 68 yards, but he also had 34, through the air. So that's over 100 yards on the day. That's pretty solid. He's definitely remember the Joshua Kelly hype early on in the year? That's gone away. That's done. If Caitlyn Bellage is taking over the job from you, that's rough. That's just a rough situation for you. So Caitlyn Bellage, waiver wire pickup or try to stay away?
I like Ahmad better, but it's I don't know because I don't know how the injury concerns with Justin Jackson and even Eckler. I don't know where they're at the moment, and both of them would damage Bellage's stock a lot if they aren't going to come back. If it's going to be him and Joshua Kelly, then yeah, he's going to be a guy that you could start next week, because I assume he's going to get 15 to 20 carries. And like we said before, I don't care how good you are. If you get 20 carries, I'm going to play him. So he was almost there. I would play him, but you're going to have to wait to see what the injury report looks like.
Yep. Fantasy running back situations, which you get at the end of the year, they turn into just they turn very strange. That's what's happening right now again. So the Chargers did not a lot through the air today. So but Keenan Allen got 3 catches, 39 yards, but a touchdown. Henry 4 for 30, got a touchdown. They'll be better than this most weeks. Dolphins are actually just a surprisingly good team.
Their defense is very good.
Yep.
Yeah.
So how about this next one? Cardinals Bills. What a game here. Cardinals win 32-30 with the Kyler Murray to DeAndre Hopkins last second Hail Mary. Oh, that was awesome. That was a great thing to see. It won me a DraftKings lineup for the week. That one, I had Murray and Hopkins. Oh, it won me some cash. Felt pretty good. Ended Nick's 4-week winning streak on DraftKings. So I feel really great about that. But man, so I'm gonna start with the Cardinals. Kyler Murray. I just love watching Kyler Murray play. And it was his only touchdown throw of the day, 245 yards, but he ran in 2 of them and 61 on the ground. That was he's a fun player to watch. So this was at one point looking like his bad game, right? This was going to be the bad Kyler Murray game, which was understandable for the time playing against the Bills. The funny thing is, it still is his worst game in like 4 weeks, but 31.9 points. So he's just getting it done. Number 1 QB right now. There is in fantasy, not in real life. He's not better than like Patrick Mahomes. Don't yell at me. He's better in fantasy though right now. He is. So Kyler Murray's I love watching Kyler play. DeAndre Hopkins 7 for 127 and a touchdown because of that. And Kenyon Drake comes back and he took over the backfield again. He doubled up Edmonds on carries. He had 16 carries, 100 yards. Edmonds got 8 for 56. I thought it'd be more of a split coming back for Drake, honestly. But
I did too. I mean, I think Drake was playing pretty well. And let's be honest, Chase Edmonds too, he was averaging 7 yards a carry. Well. Both of them were capable of gouging the Buffalo defense today. But hey, it's going to be one of those things. That's why it's kind of like, if they're both healthy, I kind of want to stay away from the situation altogether, because I don't think one is going to take over completely. It's just not the way it works. Chase Edmonds is still the guy that's going to catch it. So he had 3 for 21. So when you look at it, for all the same reasons, they're very similar in fantasy.
Yep. About the Bills here. So Allen, 284, 2 touchdowns, through 2 picks. So it wasn't his greatest effort again. No rushing touchdowns, which he usually gets one of those. But the rushing game for the Bills, Devin Singletary.
First of all, let's not pin it on him. Yes, once again, I think we've gotten past that. He's not a very viable option. But even Zach Moss, 7 for 20, Devin Singletary, 4 for 15. There is no one that is going to do well on this kind of attack. And when Josh Allen, your quarterback, is your leading rusher with 7 carries for 38, you're in trouble there. And that has become more of the same. It's not always like he doesn't actually usually have more carries than the other 2, but it's not that far off. And I mean, this is becoming kind of ridiculous. And hey, Buffalo is 7-3. They're doing well. But if you want to beat good teams, you're going to have to be able to run a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's going to
right now.
painfully just on display today. And you saw what happened, where one team could run a little more than the other. And, Cardinals, they're fun to watch, but should they beat, the Bills? No, they probably shouldn't.
No. And then how about the receivers, though? That was a bright spot there. Cole Beasley, 11 catches for 109 and a touchdown. Diggs, 10 for 93 and a touchdown. So those 2 played really well. Beasley's been pretty decent, actually. He had a couple not so great games the last couple weeks, but before that he had 11 for 112. He's an interesting play. I mean, they're on bye week, but then he can be an interesting play for 2 weeks against the Chargers and the 49ers. Maybe you throw him in there, and then you don't play him if you make it to the playoffs. You play against Pittsburgh there, but Beasley's interesting. Diggs, though, continues just to be good. Diggs has had a really good season. So, but how about the next one here? Seahawks, Rams. Rams win 23-16. And, I might just start off with the Seahawks, the losing team here. Russell Wilson, what happened here? 248 yards through the air, no touchdowns, 2 picks. Not good for Russell. And this is coming off last week where he threw 2 picks and had 2 fumbles last week. And he also had a fumble today too. What happened to Russell Wilson these last 2 weeks all of a sudden, where he just is not all – I mean, his fantasy output last week was okay, but this week it was not. And he was just dominating. And then this happens, and so Wilson plays like that, and it turns around. You know what? I figured out the problem. Their main running back was Alex Collins. Like, that can't help. Alex Collins, where'd he come from? But that kind of performance from Wilson ends up really – I mean, DK Metcalf only gets 2 catches for 28. Lockett only 5 for 66. Just a bad day for Seattle. A lot of this, maybe this is not having a reliable running game right now. That's probably a lot of it. I mean, they're down to literally Alex Collins and DJ Dallas at this point. Like, they don't have Chris Carson and Carlos Hyde, which was a lot bigger deal. Ugly, ugly day for Seattle, which we really were starting to expect them to play really well. But I don't know. I think it'll correct itself, right? This can't stay like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it will too, but it's interesting. Would I keep playing Russell Wilson? Of course I would. Yeah. But it does show 2 things. First of all, LA is better. I don't know if it doesn't tell us a whole lot fantasy-wise, but Los Angeles is better team than, we're giving them credit for. And Seattle is very vulnerable, and that's what it's kind of showing. I don't know what happened. DK Metcalf didn't do a whole lot today either. We've been expecting big things from game in, game out. 2 for 28 today. It's just, once again, ugly. They're both 6-3 now. And hey, like, on the other side of it, it was only 16-23 as a score. Jared Goff doesn't really have to do anything. It's not like all of a sudden we're like, oh, grab someone from the Rams. Like, they were the difference maker. It wasn't at all. I mean, Goff was what? He had 300 yards passing, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Cam Akers finally got the
bulk of the carries, I guess, in a way.
Yeah, 10 carries for only 38 yards. But Malcolm Brown, pillaging the goal line, carries. So 6 for 33 and 2 touchdowns. Darrell Henderson, 7 for 28 and a touchdown. Once again, this whole
tough situation.
It's incredibly. It's just a mess.
And then Josh Reynolds leads the way in the receiving game.
Yeah, exactly. Like, who would have guessed? And then Tyler Higbee, 3 for 60. Cooper Kupp, 5 for 50. Robert Woods, 5 for 33. This is what you come to expect from the Rams. They are a sneaky good team. I'm not going to put them up in the upper echelon or anything like that, but you look at their squad, and once again, they use everyone, and you can't tell what player they're going to use for what guy. And it works well in real football, but for fantasy, it's a freaking nightmare. So this game was perfectly, like, you watch this and you're like, I hate cheering for the Rams, and the people I have on Seattle are having a down game. I hate all of this. So I hate this game.
I didn't love that game. No. Well, we can admit, though, that Tyler Higbee's just not good, and I was right. So, yeah.
Yeah, why not? I'll concede that point. He has not been very good.
All right, how about this next one? Saints, 49ers. Saints win 27-13. 49ers, I mean, they just don't have anybody anymore. They're all hurt. So what are you going to do? Drew Brees got hurt in this one, so we're going to see what that ends up playing out. But I guess that's why you sign Jameis Winston. We'll see what happens if Brees can't play and if Jameis Winston is in there. But I think Alvin Kamara, the guy he's kind of ridiculous, and he's the top running back basically in fantasy, but he only gets 8 carries for 15 yards. That's it. But 2 touchdowns on the ground, and he catches 7 balls for 83 yards and a touchdown as well. He just always gets it done somehow. I guess the disappointment here has been Michael Thomas coming back for 2 games now, just really not being Michael Thomas for 2 games. I mean, even his opening game, the game he did play, the first game of the year, he was 3 for 17. And then he's been back for 2 games, 5 for 51, and now 2 for 27. I don't know what that is, but it's not you're not very excited about the situation. So the Saints win this one, but there's just no – other than Alvin Kamara, there's just nothing here fantasy-wise. It's all Kamara. That's all it is. But, hey, we'll see. It's going to be a weird situation to see if Winston's there. If Winston's there, I don't know. I don't know how that's going to play out with everybody. In
a weird way, I think it will hurt Kamara, and I think it will help Michael Thomas.
It could.
And I don't really know how they're going to let him play, right? Last year is probably not a good predictor because it was just wide open and you threw the ball as far as you could pretty much and let one of your guys grab it. That's why I think it'd be better for Michael Thomas. And if, you want your best wide receiver to kind of help your quarterback out, say, okay, here are two scenarios. Breeze is actually healthy. He plays. What do you do next week with Michael Thomas?
You still play him. You still have to. You have to play him and hope that that's the week where it comes back. I think that's a problem. I think you just have to play Michael Thomas. You're stuck with it.
Okay. And
hope
Winston,
works.
If Winston plays next week, is he a viable streaming option?
I don't necessarily think I would play him. It's not the same. I mean, they're playing against Atlanta, which it could be decent, but it's not the same situation he was in Tampa. I don't see him being able to just toss the ball around like he did there. So I would probably shy away from it, to be honest. I'd probably stay away from Jameis next week. Then how about 49ers, who have literally, I think, everybody on this team is hurt. They have backups at every position here on the offense, right? Backup quarterback, backup running backs, backup wide receivers, backup tight end. It's kind of sad. And so because of that, there's not a lot here. Brandon Ayuk, though, 7 for 75 and a touchdown. I mean, Jordan Reed, if you're looking for a tight end, I guess 5 for 62 shows you some promise, right, with how bad the tight end position is. But other than that, this is a situation you just want to avoid all around. You don't want anything to do with this 49ers offense right now. It's just not good. It's not good. I've never seen a team get this hit with injuries like they have this year, which should be a good team, and it's just injuries have crushed them.
I mean, they were, a quarter away from winning the Super Bowl last year. And now you can miss out on your window of opportunity as a franchise because of the injuries they had. And that is really sad to see because they have unbelievable talent on this roster and they might just be forgotten about completely because, 1 year can make all the difference. You start losing veterans and all that. So you just don't want to see it go down like this.
Yep.
What are you doing with McKinnon? Assuming he's going to be the number one back next year. You're not starting him. You're not flexing him. You're not anything. Okay.
Nope. I'm getting away completely. All right. How about Steelers Bengals? Steelers win 36-10 to go 9-0 on the year. Just getting it done.
I love this so much. I really do.
They're good.
And I wasn't sure what was going to happen. They kind of had a down trend. They weren't really great last week or anything like that.
Right.
Hey, their wide receivers are incredibly young, incredibly talented. And Roethlisberger has come back from the injury and been great. I mean, he really has for coming back from an injury. Is he going to be a top 5 QB? No. But this week, he definitely looked like it. 333 yards, 4 touchdowns. Those touchdowns going to Deontay Johnson, Juju, and 2 to Chase Claypool.
I mean, it's spread around perfectly.
I was going to say my biggest worry was, if they don't throw 4 touchdowns, I didn't think they were going to this game. But, who do they go to? How can you figure out who's going to catch it? And that's why I would have steered away from Deontay Johnson because he's been up and down since he came back. Unbelievable. I mean, 116 yards, 1 touchdown, Juju 77 and a touchdown, and then Claypool with 56 and 2. Who ranks where for you going into next week with this wide receiving crew who can be very, very good, but very, very volatile depending on week to week?
This is a very tough one. They are.
All right, well, let's do this again. Let's do start, sit, and trade as I'm find it hilarious how much you hate this game.
It's so tough. This is so tough. Oh man. You know what? I'm probably the targets are all the same. I mean, they're all double-digit targets too. Wow. Let me think here again. This is tough again. And you know what? I think I'm starting. This might not seem like I'm starting Juju. So the last 4 games, his targets have been 13, 7, 8, and 14. He's actually been solid. It might not be as flashy sometimes as what Claypool has done or what Deontay Johnson has done, but I feel I feel like he's actually come around pretty well on that. I mean, Deontay Johnson's got a lot of targets here too. And man, I think I go for safety more, I guess I'll say. So I will go for that. And then I would trade Johnson because I think he has more value right now. I think you'd get a little bit more for the Claypool. So I try to trade Johnson and get a good value for him because I think you can get that. So funny thing is, because I think you can get more for Johnson than you could almost get for Juju at this point, even though I feel more comfortable with Juju. I think Deontay Johnson's more of a flashy name. So it's a close one, though. It really is. I'm good with starting any of these guys at this point. So we're a solid team there. Bengals side of things. T. Higgins was a bright spot, 7 for 115 and a touchdown, but that's about it for him. That's about their only bright spot here. Joe Burrow was 21 of 40, 213 touchdown, but they're playing against the Steelers who are just rolling right now. It's tough to get anything going. Samaje Perine led the team there with 7 for 48 on the ground. Samaje Perine.
I just want to mention T. Higgins. T. Higgins again. Yeah, I'm going to completely blow by Perine because, but I'm going to talk about T. Higgins a little more because he is a guy that I think has turned into, a wide receiver too. Like I think he has. I don't know. And if you agree with
close,
me or not,
he's very close to that.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at the games, even if he's not catching a touchdown, he's putting up yardage. If you look at the past, we'll go 5 games. Hey, look, 4 receptions for 62 yards, then 6 for 125, 5 for 71 and a touchdown, 6 for 78, and then today 7 for 115 and a touchdown. So on a team that has been kind of a very up and down, once again, young quarterback, we kind of expected this. Joe Mixon is hurt. T. Higgins has established himself as probably the top wide receiver. And AJ Green never really made it back. It's great to see because they need their number 1 draft picks, or I shouldn't say this, but their high draft picks from this past year to really do something. Him and Burrow really getting on the same page is going to be awesome. And T. Higgins is looking like a mighty fine keeper as well.
All right, how about then? We'll talk about Thursday night. We haven't talked about the Thursday night game, so we can quick over that quick. Colts beat the Titans 34-17. Colts are actually doing pretty well too, 6-3. Both teams, these teams are 6-3 on the year, which Colts are a surprise to me. And Rivers threw for 308 yards, solid there. Only had 1 touchdown. Michael Pittman was, I guess, the bright spot here, coming, finally getting this lineup in at 7 for 101. But I think, again, the story of this team is Jonathan Taylor and what has happened to him. 7 carries for 12 yards. He did have 2 catches for 25 yards, but he was 3rd in line in carries for this game. Nahim Heinz led the team with 12 for 70 and a touchdown, also caught 5 for 45 and a touchdown, and Jordan Wilkins had 8. Jordan Wilkins isn't any good, but Jordan Wilkins had more carries than Jonathan Taylor. I don't know what happened to Jonathan Taylor. I mean, these last 3 games coming after that bye, I mean, even before that, it wasn't like he was great, but after the bye, 11 for 22, 6 for 27, 7 for 12. I don't know what happened here.
I don't either. I would think something is wrong with him. I would think that he was hurt. Except why would you give a guy that's banged up 7 carries when you can easily go, to other places? You don't really need him to play at all. I have no idea, to be completely honest. He has been very disappointing for the second half of this year.
It's crazy to me. So I think so people are going to, again, look at Nahim Heinz for maybe the 3rd time this year as a waiver wire pickup. I think he's owned, as we're talking, as in 41.2% of leagues. So he's definitely going to be a waiver wire pickup in a lot of leagues. Would you pick up Nahim Heinz and think of playing him? I think we've done this game before, right? We've done this thing with Nahim Heinz. He's had the big game. We put him in the lineup, but now he's done this a couple times now, right? What was it? Was it 2 games in a row he's played like this? Against the Lions, he got those 2 touchdowns, right? But he had the game in between there. So I don't know. Is this something you're considering, or is it's just Nahim Heinz and you just don't want to do it?
Yeah, in my head it's Nahim Heinz. The only difference this week that I'm kind of taking into account, like maybe I do throw him on my bench if I need running back help, because has he ever had double-digit carries this year? I know he hasn't in the past, 5-6 games or so. It's the first time usually he's kind of a passing threat. We knew that receiving threat, and we don't know when he's going to get in the end zone. It's very all over the place. So I don't feel very good about it, but all of a sudden Jonathan Taylor's demise is coming. Wilkins had one big week, and now all of a sudden Nahim Heinz has 12 carries for 70 yards. And you're kind of wondering, is he all of a sudden winning favor in Indianapolis? I don't believe it yet, but it's not past the realm of possibility. So I do think that I don't mind like the snatch and stash kind of deal with Heinz right now, because maybe he does turn into that player down the stretch. Heaven knows that they need the running game. They have a good defense. They have a pretty good offensive line, even though, they've been, up and down of late. But once again, they're a team that is in the playoff hunt, and Phillip Rivers is not going to get you there alone. So which one of these guys do you think they're going to kind of load up on the back of? Who would you guess? I mean, you could guess any three of them right now.
It feels more like – I feel like I'd be more comfortable with Nahim Heinz, to be honest, because I don't think Jordan Wilkins is just not a good running back. He's just very average. And there's something going on with Jonathan Taylor that they just don't trust. And I think Nahim Heinz is going to be the guy for a bit here where he's going to get the most opportunity. So Jonathan Taylor, though, I feel like this is still a situation where I feel like it turns at some point, and all of a sudden Jonathan Taylor is the guy again. I feel like that's going to happen, but I can't say when that's going to happen. And so I'm worried about it until it does. And I would feel like it's going to, but we'll see. But I mean, can you play Jonathan Taylor right now? I don't think you can. I don't think you start him anymore.
No, I wouldn't, and unless you have to, which is a lot of places. Don't get me wrong. I mean, he's probably going to be a flex play for a lot of people, but now, I mean, I don't feel comfortable playing him right now. You just can't.
No, I don't think so. But Michael Pittman, I think, at the receiver, I think you can play Michael Pittman though. That was a good to see from him. So I think you play Michael Pittman there. And then for Tennessee, this is a disappointing game for them. Brian Tannehill, only 147 and a touchdown, didn't do much. Derrick Henry did his normal thing, 19 for 103. No touchdowns, though. And then Corey Davis comes back from his zeros to lead the team with 5 for 67, but that was it. And A.J. Brown only 1 for 21. So just a bad game all around there for the Titans. I wouldn't take too much away from it, honestly. It's just not a good game. So actually, one more game here to talk about. How about we talk about Patriots-Ravens Sunday night football game? Patriots get the win over the Ravens. How about that? 23-17. 23-17 Patriots win, which is very surprising, actually. I did not see that coming. And Patriots now are going to go to 4-5 and start to – maybe they can be a playoff team here. But let's start with Baltimore. Lamar Jackson threw for 249. He had 2 touchdowns there, 11 for 55. So that's a solid Lamar Jackson day. It's not what it's still though. It's not what we were looking at getting from Lamar Jackson coming into this year. It's a solid day. It's a good day, but it's not Lamar Jackson of last year. And that player is just not there anymore. Before we would say, they're still winning, right? It doesn't really make a difference. But now they're not. Now they lost to the Patriots, who have been bad. So
yeah, I think that is a very good point that you make. I'm wondering if that will be good for fantasy owners, because I do have to say, what were they 6-2 before this? Are they going to be 6-3 now? So they get lumped into a lot of these different teams, right? A lot of teams are going to be hovering around that. And Baltimore, they could hop behind it, right? They're kind of saying, okay, we can play a slower game. We don't really have to put up as many points as we did last year because that's how we win. As soon as New England comes out, a very mediocre team, and kind of pokes holes in that, you do wonder if they're going to be like, okay, like we have to make sure we make it into the playoffs. Right now we were on cruise control, and then we'll pull it out when we need to. Maybe they have to pull that ripcord a little quicker, and you're going to all see. I mean, Lamar Jackson did have 11 carries for 55 yards in this one.
If they're going that way.
And that is not full-blown Lamar Jackson from last year, right? There's a lot more you can go. I do wonder if this is going to start tilting him to say, okay, let's push the throttle now. Let's really do what we can do. I would hope so in that way.
Because the rest of the ground game, so Mark Ingram was back for this one, but Gus Edwards led the way with 7 carries for 42, Dobbins 5 for 13, Ingram 5 for 5. just not much happening there. Receiving wise, Willie Snead led the way with 5 for 64 and 2 touchdowns. Well, Mark Andrews had 7 catches for 61, which was better to see. Marquise Brown only 2 for 14. I expected more from Marquise Brown. I thought he'd be more of a player than this, but this is also, I think, just the offense in general hasn't been as good as we expected. So we'll see. Maybe this does start turning around. For the Patriots here, Cam Newton didn't have. I mean, this was just downpouring. It wasn't the greatest game for that, but
I mean, that's very true.
Yeah.
We should point that out.
Yeah, I will say that.
It's a very good point. I do have to say this was perfect for New England, though. This was completely let's play a let's not give the ball away. Let's just grind it out. And that has got to be incredibly frustrating for Baltimore. But, I mean, Cam didn't have to throw the ball. 13 for 17, 118 yards and 1 touchdown, no interceptions.
Ran one in. He had 11 carries for 21 and a touchdown. Rex Burkhead had 6 for 31. And then Damian Harris has become a legitimate threat. We've been saying this. Patriots, if they keep getting better, it's only going to be better for Harris. But 22 carries for 121 yards. Yep.
He has, when they give him the ball, especially in bulk, he has produced. I can't promise touchdowns or anything like that, but he is going to be a pretty good running back, which is great to see. And other than that, though, there was no Rex Burkhead actually does have 2 touchdowns catching. So they're playing that very methodical, let's dump it off to these guys behind the line and watch.
One of those touchdown catches there for Rex Burkhead was a throw from Jacoby Myers, which little trickery.
Oh, there we go. I actually missed that one.
Yeah, Jacoby Myers threw that touchdown. Myers also had 5 for 59 receiving. He's become their number 1 receiver right now. So Jacoby Myers, if he wasn't picked up already, he should be picked up next week for sure. He's only owned in 22% of leagues. So he's had 2 games. Last week he was 12 for – actually, it's not even just last week. Last week it was his big day of 12 for 169. But the week before, he was 6 for 58 with 10 targets. The week before it was only 4 for 60, but it was 6 targets. And then this week, 5 for 59, but it's 7 targets. He's the main guy there. You go look to pick up Jacoby Myers at this point. So Patriots get the win though.
Yeah, where would Jacoby Myers actually rank on your waiver wire? Like, give a general sense of that.
So there's probably, it depends on, I guess, what you need. So running back wise, it's like if it's probably Nahim Heinz, Salvin Ahmad, Caitlyn Bellage, probably those kind of guys, running back. Wide receiver-wise, I would probably go Michael Pittman ahead of Jacoby Myers. But I would probably go Jacoby Myers over Valdez-Scantling because Valdez-Scantling,
agree. Yeah.
Even though he had a great game, he's more up and down. Jacoby Myers feels like more of the main guy. Some of the other options, I guess, would be like Josh Reynolds, Jalen Reagor, Keelan Cole, but I want Jacoby Myers over them. He'd been my number 2, I think, behind Michael Pittman. Probably number 2 my number 2 wide receiver pickup actually.
No, it's crazy too. Just talking about that 6-3 mark. And tell me if I'm wrong if these aren't the updated rankings or whatever. But look, Baltimore is tied right now with Cleveland, 6-3 in the AFC North, and then Miami is also 6-3. We talked about them. A lot of teams that are. In New England, 4-5. So it's kind of, and that's why I do believe that there's some credence to think that Lamar Jackson will start stepping it up or will be used differently, because that is a very dangerous place to be where you're not far away from getting knocked out of the playoffs.
Well, they're not at all. Right now, 7 teams make the playoffs, right? 7 teams.
Right. So
as of now, in the division leaders all make it, right? So you have the, what do we have here? The 4 divisions. So you have the 4 division leaders. You got Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Indianapolis, Kansas City. So then you get 3 more after that. So only 3 more. And yet there's like 4 or 5 teams. There's like at least 4 teams that are 6-3, right? So Raiders, Miami, Baltimore, Cleveland, Tennessee. Somebody right now is left out of the playoffs at 6-3, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah. And in 2 games.
Or 2 people are.
Yeah. And in 2 games. Yeah. Baltimore has to play Pittsburgh again, who is undefeated and obviously the top of that division. So I see a change coming pretty darn quick because they got to figure out how to win some games. Because if they lose to Pittsburgh again, they're probably not catching them the way they're playing at the moment. Even if they do get the win, it's possible. But I think Pittsburgh is good enough to hold them off. So they would have to go for a wild card victory. So look, and after that, Cowboys, which they should win, heavily. And then you have Cleveland, which once again, they should beat the crap out of the Browns, but the Browns all of a sudden are in it. So they're going to pull out everything they possibly can. And Hunt and Chubb, they're going to try to do exactly what New England did to them tonight, and they're hoping for bad weather, but they're just going to try to run it and not make mistakes. So I'm kind of in on the idea that Lamar is going to turn into more of the Lamar that we saw last year. But, who knows? He hasn't been so far, but that would be my prediction.
But all right, that'll do it for the Week 10 recap. We'll be back tomorrow. Get you ready for Week 11 around the NFL. Talk to you guys next time.